Unification and hope, or divide and conquer. That's some of the things we're going to chat about today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get on with it because there's a lot of stuff going on. And it seems it's kind of interesting because around this time of the year, December, I was listening to some people on Facebook and social media is talking about how, it should be a time where we're kind of more relaxed and happy. And then it's like, there's so much going on, right? I mean, seriously. So I guess we'll start with the Hanukkah celebration in Bondi Beach in Australia, and the thing that happened there with the gunmen and all the people that got taken out. So that was pretty intense.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of people would be curious as to say, how do I reconcile this, being a spiritual person with this incredible, bizarre hate that shows up. And that, even if you're a warrior and you think about going to war, like it doesn't make any sense. Two guys go with guns and as if they're not going to get killed or shot or arrested, or it's just pure. It's without any. You have to ask what's the purpose, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's not. What's the point of all that, except for there's probably some religious concepts where they believe they're going to go to heaven or get 72 virgins or whatever the deal is. That applies in with other folks and other things as well.
Yeah. So as we all know, there was this massacre there in Bondi Beach in Australia, and where we had two gunmen shoot up a bunch of people who were celebrating Hanukkah.
Yeah, and we've been to Bondi
many times.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I've brought Teresa there.
And so I suppose I think the first thing I'm going to just open up with is just talk a little bit about that energy. I want to just talk about that energy before we get into talking about the solutions and so forth, which is what for me I want to do. Uh-huh. So I just want to talk about how the energy of hate and anger. I want to talk about that for a minute. Mm-hmm. And for everybody listening, this is really important if you are interested in your spiritual life. This is a very important concept to understand, because I don't want to judge it, that it's just a thing that's there, right? Hate. If I get involved in hate, it's going to create a pathway. It's going to create like anything else, it's going to create a pathway. It's like going through the woods, and you're trying to walk through the woods, and it's like there's branches everywhere. And then, if you go through it again, you start kind of whacking at some of the branches, you take them off, and then you go through it again. All of a sudden you clear a pathway, and then you go through that same area again. Before you know, you can put some rocks down, easy to walk through. Before you know it, you got concrete there. And pretty soon you have this super highway. So it just flows very easily. And you think, well, why would the hate thing be so important? Because hate or anger focuses all your emotions and thoughts. All of the stuff that can hit me as a sensitive, right? All of the machinations and pressures of the world. The moment I have that kind of anger and hate, it brings everything to one. I don't have all this other bouncing stuff around me. So you wonder why people get so attached to it. It's like a drug. You can get so stuck in it because it unifies your thoughts. That's what, for those people who talk about revenge, they say revenge is divine because when you're in it, it's like nothing else matters. You're just singular in focus, right? So to me, that energy of hate is where I've gotten so far off into a tangent that that the big picture has become this little thing I'm looking at, right? That everything becomes this little thing. And that's how anything can turn into anger and hate. And eventually that will turn into fear of success. That will keep me from doing what I've come to do.
Yeah. So I'm glad you opened up with this, Tiger, because we see this consistently.
Yep.
We saw it this week in the Brown University. We saw it with the Rob Reiner and his son, perhaps killing his mom and dad. He's, allegedly, yes. Mm-hmm. And that in that part, they were at the a Christmas party where a lot of them heard the father and the son, getting angry and emotions coming up, and then then afterwards, horrific things happen. So this type of ordeal, it's interesting. Like when you're talking about it, I see it like, when we take the magnifier and you put the sun through it to like a focus.
Yes.
It's like that. Like I'm focusing on this, whether it be love, whether it be hate and anger and discord or whatever, that it consistently just, it just exacerbates to a point where then it's like something horrific happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
We exist in a highly intellectual world, and often the feeling part where your inner wisdom lies gets left out. There's a way to feel more in balance with all parts of yourself. This way is by accessing a spiritual bigger picture of who you are as a soul. Check out the link in the show notes to access a free video series created by the Wayshowers College to support your journey and moving through this game of life. Your intellect and feeling parts will love it.
So the bottom line is for me not to get involved in judging these things, but rather making sure I am balanced, making sure I have the big picture, making sure that I am involved in what I came to do, because it only takes, I'm a creator. Everybody in this room is a creator. Everybody listening to this is a creator. So where am I going to create? What am I going to put energy into? Wherever I put my energy into something, it's going to have an effect.
Good or bad.
Good or bad. So the big negative part is I get a front end, people who get involved in that kind of thing where it just gets consuming to them. And then they think the only thing to do is to lash out like that. Or just as bad, they lash inside. They beat themselves up inside, right? That's just as bad. But if they get involved in that, it's just a diminishing returns. I have to keep feeding it with more and more intellect, more and more emotion to feed it. It doesn't survive on its own. I can't hate all by myself. I have to keep feeding it. If I'm left to my own devices, if I'm just interact with people, if I just go in my daily life, that doesn't exist. I have to keep feeding that kind of energy. It's in a natural space for me energetically.
I know you've brought it up in the green room, Tom, about noticing that groups of people have been doing that to one another lately.
Right.
Well, I think whenever you get caught up in that energy of moral issues,
That's it.
and what we mean by that is that, our society is made up of, we work together, we live together based on some religious ideas and religious laws and practices, as well as the physical, for example, if you run red stoplights, you risk getting killed, or if you step out in front of a truck, you're going to get smashed, right? That's running at 70 miles an hour or something. So what strikes me is the energy of moral issues. When I get caught in that, it's great to discern what's right and wrong for me, or what feels best, or what is right and wrong, or good or bad, are just ways of describing it. But if I get consumed by it, I have to be careful, because these events that occur can stimulate that. What I hear you saying, what strikes me is it can stimulate it in me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want to hate these guys that did this thing, and we're going to talk about all the hate and be righteous about it.
Yep.
And so people would say, well, my God, that's crazy. Of course you don't, want these guys running around. Well, of course you don't want these guys running around. I mean, we have to do something about that.
Yeah.
But they're out there.
But they're out there,
Mm-hmm.
So what helps me is I just staying detached from that.
That's right.
I don't condone that behavior. I would enforce the law against anyone who would break those laws. But if I get caught in the mental gymnastics, and I guess it's almost like indulging in the moral issues.
Yeah.
And this is what we get to, where what you're alluding to, Teresa, is that I'm noticing that, like with all the talking heads, the pundits, the commentators that have YouTube videos and podcasts and news stories and things, that they love to get involved in the moral issues. They make a living from it. And energetically, I don't think it's healthy, because it's that same energy. And you could say this confusion moves from one thing to another.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as we have this power tripping going on here on planet Earth, which we're probably always going to have, at least until the school gets completely reformed one way or another over, eons, it's going to be part of the learning experience here. How do I stay detached from all that?
Yeah. So,
Yeah. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah. I'm feeling like, it's a feeding of the energies.
That's right.
And so for myself, and that's, I think, why we do what we do here every week is to really just bring these stories, which, you know what, if we look back we've been doing this almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
Look back, the stories, they all have the same type of influences and energies and different things floating through them, but they're just different variations of it. That actually, for myself, it touches different parts of me. Sometimes it can bring up the anger, or it can bring up the sadness, or inspiration or enthusiasm, but it depends on what's the energy behind it. So what you're saying, and what I hear you saying, Tom, about, feeding that energy. For myself, when I understand who I am as a soul, and that I have, a team of support in the unseen world, and I work with my inner gifts, that ability enables me to be able to discern when I need to be somewhere,
Right.
the timing, who do I need to be around, what do I need to be involved in? And that keeps me in the right place in the right time. Now, who's not to say I'm not going to be involved in something down the road in a different place, but overall, if I'm able to discern these keys from using my spiritual part, I'm really able to move and also just watch from a distance things that happen and go, okay, that's interesting that happened that way. And so, what is that for me in that mirroring image?
Spiritual growth is not a race. It's a gradual progression. You do not have to spend 24 hours a day working on it in order to feel more inner peace, deeper connection to your soul purpose, and feeling more confident in your daily life. The journey is all about balancing your physical and spiritual worlds. These two worlds are supportive for embracing the foundations of the real you. By just investing minutes a day for your spiritual part as you would invest in your house or other areas of your life. To gather more direction, clarity, and a new layer of inner awareness, check out the ebook set created by the Wayshowers College. Link and discount code in show notes.
Yeah. So I think before I move on to talking about all the solutions and so forth, so that energy, that thought pattern, that type of group or people that indulge, good way to say it, indulge in that kind of hate, anger, fear, basically, is they're consumed with something. So they're like an angry bull, right? And for myself, when I'm around that feeling, when I'm around people like that, I don't stand in front of the bull, right? If you don't ever stand in front of that kind of thing, what you do is you address it from the side, right? You step out of the direct energy of it and you address it from the side, right? Like if we were in the military, you'd say you don't take that kind of a enemy on head on, you ambush them, right? Because they're so blind. They're so blind with that energy, with that hate, with that focus, right? They can't see around them, right? It makes them powerful because they're just willing to go straight, but they're actually slaves because they're so caught up in the one thing, they've lost sight of everything, right? So for me, if I know that energy is in the environment, I don't ever take it on head on. I need to address it from the side. I need to move off to the edge, right? And deal with it there. It doesn't mean I can't be a hero and deal with it there or move out or whatever. I don't try to address it straight on. I come from a side spot. And what that means spiritually and figuratively is that when I feel that thing hitting me, I'm sure I know for myself, I don't know if you all have all had this happen, where something just pisses you off, right? And that can start boiling, right? I don't try to solve that straight at it. I relax and do what you're saying, Tom. I get detached. I take a moment and I get detached. Detached is like stepping to the side. I'm letting that energy rush past. I'm letting it flow past me, right? It may not feel good, but it's going to flow past me, and then I can address it. I get back in charge of my energy. And so for me, in to recap this part, I don't want to be, if I'm going to get around that feeling, whether it's in me or around me, I need to get detached. I need to get in a position where I can deal with things from a bigger picture, because I can have a solution that's going to help myself and everybody around me if I'm not just caught up in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was that piece there before we move on to
What
solutions.
struck me is the old adage or saying, I guess it's a Christian saying, love your enemies.
Yeah.
And
That gets you detached.
people say, why? How could I love my enemy? How could you love these guys that opened fire on? But it's more of a feeling of detachment
That's right.
without judging. I certainly evaluate their behavior or
You
judge
bet.
their behavior. And if I don't have a solution as to how to control, we don't have much of a solution on how to control that yet. So we shoot them, or, we put them in jail forever and that kind of thing. So that's the way society has of dealing with these. But I guess that's love your enemies is one of those wise old sayings. And often, if I try to intellectually understand that, it doesn't make any sense.
That's right.
But if I have a feeling for that, it's like, oh, I'm in this energy of, I love you so much that I'm going to check you out because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time doing the wrong thing,
Well, I mean, think about what it takes. If I'm, we've all had family members and friends and not so friendly friends hit us with things that stimulate the heck out of us. So just think for a moment for yourself, what's that feeling of just honoring, loving, and respecting people as they are, and then just feeling like you have nothing but anger for that person? Those are polar opposites. Those are two different places. You can't be in the same place there. Those are two things. So the moment I come back to that vibration of love thy enemy, then I get forced to float up higher. I get forced to see things from the bigger picture. It doesn't mean that I don't, let me set my boundaries here.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I don't, no, we're not doing that. This is my house, or whatever. But it's that bigger picture of respecting self and respecting the person where they're at.
Interesting, because what's coming up for me around these different scenarios that we've been talking about and the things that have happened recently is how I know for myself things that I see out in the distance, maybe like a news story, like one that was this week was about maybe perhaps the trans thing.
Mm-hmm.
And about that they're thinking of ending the care for trans youth under 18 and proposing to pulling off federal funding from the hospitals that provide, puberty blocking drugs, hormone therapy, or surgeries to minors. And I think about my situation and where I'm at in my life and how if I had kids raising right now at that age, I would probably be fighting in a big way because it's ridiculous to think that the parents have no say whatsoever in a child that's under 18, that it's responsibility of the hospital because it's, or the school, because also schools now take more, that they can't tell the parents anything. Well, so I just think about the timing of things also in the spiritual, perspective of how things roll through our lives and the different things that come and go. And even the things we're talking about, which we've talked about, Gaza and different things before, where, these things have gone on in these areas for thousands of years. Yeah. This is not the first rodeo for really any of this, but things like the trans thing, it is unique because that's really never come up before that I've noticed. Even looking back at history books, has there been a time when we've tried to change sexes and been confused about who we were as, male and female?
I don't know of any.
Well, I mean, when Rome got to a certain point, they were pretty flamboyant. But the point is that your point is taken. And just to kind of lead with the solution with some of that stuff, I agree with you 100%. Ultimately, the responsibility needs to be more and more to the individual, more and more to the family unit, more and more to the community, and not further away from it. Why do I say that? I don't say that because I'm some kind of, freak in one direction or politically biased in one direction. It's because I know the greatest spiritual growth and efficiency is when the individual has the most power, right? Not an outside source. Mm-hmm. So when I'm responsible for me, for my family unit, for my community, that is the greatest opportunity for spiritual growth and in the most rapid and effective pace. So that's number one, is ultimately, how do I bring the responsibility back to me, back to my family unit, and back to my community? So part of the solution is, if I'm in a position where I'm not independent and I'm dependent on things, I need to point my nose into the direction of independency. I need to point myself toward being organized to have more than enough, right? I don't have to know how to get there. I just need to point my nose in that direction, make that decision, because all this controversy of the hospital doing this, or the kids and the trans and all that kind of stuff, at the root and core is going to be as if I'm taking care of myself and I'm taking care and working with my family unit first. Then there's a lot of spiritual backing to clarify things of whether that belongs or doesn't belong for those individuals. But when other people get involved and I'm dependent on the hospital, dependent on the government, dependent on my brother, dependent on the community, then what happens is I'm inviting more things in there, and I don't have the insight at the moment it's needed to clarify situations. That is the first, for me, that is the key solution, way ahead of all the other moral issue of whether there's trans or not trans, or whether we should support it or not support it. All that is way down there, third or fourth. If I'm not coming back home to who I am spiritually, what's my identity? Not this flesh wrapped around me. Do I know who I really am? Forget about boy-girl thing. Do I know who I really am? I can't even take this physical body with me when it's time to go home, let alone the gold and silver. So until that's clear, all this other stuff is a sideshow.
Yeah.
Not to diminish
Circus.
It's a circus, not to diminish the issues that they're going through. It's a sideshow from the perspective of, if I don't know my true identity, what makes me think that somehow because I change an outfit or change my idea about intellectually about myself, it's going to make any real difference? I'm just going to change how I look, but I'm going to bring how I feel. That's the issue. All the confusion is going to just keep with me.
Yeah, in fact, there's many psychologists and psychiatrists, as well as people who have experienced that trans situation, finding out that's the truth of it, is it didn't cure any confusion. It shows up again later. And so
it's just the flavor of the moment, really.
Yeah. And if they want to get together, if the community wants to get together and support that, that's great. Do that. But the issue is that daddy and mommy has been taking care of all this stuff. And then when daddy and mommy change out, right? The government changes out. That's what I'm trying to say. Then all of a sudden it becomes a moral issue because you're threatening my survival. You're threatening my identity. They get the hell out of there. Get them out of that environment. Get back to the community. Get back to the group that will support, because that's where the energy is. That's where the spiritual backing is. Want daddy and mommy to do it? Guess what? Daddy and mommy got to say.
Yeah, I think the big con,
There it
you
is.
might say, is that, you need me,
Mm-hmm.
somebody outside of you. You need the big government or the big institution or the church or the whatever the outer is. You need that so I can take care of you. And if you buy into that, because you have this concept that you can't take care of yourself, or you're not tuning into who you really are, what your true feelings are. And many of us, when we're young, we were like, no, I want to do it.
That's right.
I can feel who I am. Don't limit me. Don't hold me back from what I know I can do. And sometimes the timing's not right. You got to wait for the kids to get a little older, But yeah, it's a big con. If I really feel that I'm a soul, that I'm unlimited, that I've got lifetimes of experience and I've got inner wisdom to tune into, I'm enthusiastic about the challenges that come up. But all I have to do is ask myself, but if I've gotten in the habit of looking outside myself for answers, I've found that I do feel inauthentic, or I try to act like someone else, another prototype, rather than just being my genius within that situation. Mm-hmm. Having enough love and patience for myself that I just allow myself to have these little learning experiences and modify over time.
Interesting. So,
well, I mean, I guess the final component for wrap up here is also discussing about how if I'm not going to be full of hope and inspiration, I'm going to be a part of divide and conquer. And that's the other thing that you were mentioning in the green room, where we're talking about how those who get involved in the politics of the day, or the politics in the business or the social circle, right? The politics is a universal word. It doesn't have to be just government, right? If I get involved in the politics, eventually I'll feel that power trip, right? It's a gossip thing. It becomes a cliquey thing. And that energy immediately starts separating. It's a divide and conquer thing. Mm-hmm. And when the moment I don't have a unified enemy to fight with my little clique, we'll start eating each other. We'll start eating each other. The red ties will start eating each other. The blue ties will start eating each other, right? Your party, whatever government it is, whatever government party, will start eating each other, because if they don't have a unified threat, then they start. It's the nature of that politic. It's the nature of that divide and conquer, and that tribe, that tribalness. So if I'm not careful, I'm not involved in hope. And what was the other inspirational word? It was unification and hope. If I don't have that sense of that bigger picture, I'm so sensitive. By default, I'll start picking up all of the separation. I'll start wanting to divide rather than include.
What strikes me is it's like a bit of a, there is energy there when you do that division.
It is.
But it's like looking for a place to continue that rush of energy that you felt when you're, fighting the good fight or something. And anyways, it's just that's what strikes me about it. Instead of the unification or hope and the solutions, like Teresa brought up.
I was going to say, Teresa, you've shared different stories with us over the years about how the people in, whether it's this place that you used to work or the place that you've been working, it's amazing how people just get caught up in the little trip. And they forget the bigger picture of what they've come to do.
Yeah, I mean, all that we're looking at in the news really is just a reflection of our small little world, right?
There it is.
It's just a bigger version of it. And so I think it's actually more amplified and more profound perhaps than what we are dealing with day to day, but yet we are dealing with it day to day. And I know that all three of us, within our work of what we do and the places and the people we're involved with, it's like Yeah, divide and conquer, unification, hope. I mean, sometimes it's hard to be on what side are we on with the people we're working with. But I like what you said earlier about coming on the side, because I've been doing that, especially at work. There's a few that are a little more challenging for myself, and I recognize that there's no getting through to that energy.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I'll just stay around the side and just work what I need to work, and it's been much better for myself,
Healthier
for myself, and I'm able to move through what I've come to do in my day to day,
That's it.
versus going, okay, well, how do I head on with that energy? No, there's no head on with that energy, which is kind of what we're talking about with all these different energies, whether it be, watching someone, do horrific things like they did on Bondi Beach,
Yeah.
or the trans thing, or, the infighting of the left and the right. It's like all these things. How do we work with it to access the hope and feeling of unification? So
That's right.
let's end with some solutions.
As the Earth's crust shifts and changes, our lives do the same. One way to maneuver through the small and large moments that shake us to the core is by reviving your connection to spirit, gathering ways to cleanse your energy field, embracing spiritual awarenesses to give you a bigger picture, and knowing that you are not alone on your journey can be a great support. The Soulquake Survival Guidebook is a great companion to meet you where you're at and support reviving your connection to spirit in earth-shaking times. Get your copy today through Amazon worldwide in paperback, ebook, or in audio, and begin embracing more clarity, inner peace, and enthusiasm for your life and what you've come to do.
All right. Well, for me, I relate to this a lot just because, I'm a sensitive person. I pick stuff up, meaning, and it's easy to, in weak moments, to get pulled into stuff. We run on the 24-hour news cycle, and now with, social media and these iPhones and tablets and stuff like that, these smartphones just throw it to me in my lap. And I could be sitting just taking a quick look at something, and before I know it, an hour has gone by.
Yeah.
It's amazing how the algorithms and all this thing just suck right in. So for me, part of that solution is really knowing what is my purpose and what is my direction. And when I say that, I don't mean some big, fancy, profound thing like, knowing who I truly am and all this stuff, although I do include that. It's like having direction that I'm going to the grocery store today. Having direction, I'm going to go make dinner. I got to take the trash out today. And while that sounds mundane and simple and oversimple, it is amazing how when the people in my environment are confused, or when I'm having challenges in business, or whatever's going on for me physically, if I have that sense of purpose, if I have that sense of wanting, desiring to fulfill and work with my helpers and do what I've come to do, even if I can't unfold that 100%, it is incredible how many more solutions are there. It is incredible how much more backing and support is there. And to your point, it's amazing how I end up being at the right place at the right time, meaning that sometimes I'm not in the place where all the troubles are.
Right.
Because I'm kind of guided away from that. But I'm not guided away from it, or I get lost when I don't have that inner direction, when I don't have that inner purpose. So I get lost in it, I'll get sucked into problems. So to me, the wrap up is about having that desire for inner direction and inner purpose down to the basic little thing. Like, I'm just going to go do this today. And I'm going to couple that. I'm going to marry that with the bigger picture of spirit and who I really am.
Yeah, my wrap up is around discerning and trusting in, the unseen spiritual parts of myself. And like you're saying, Tiger, I mean, I too am very sensitive and have been when I was younger and still am and will be all the way to the end, because I'm a soul in a physical body. So recognizing that the more often I trust and I and I tune into, okay, what, like there's been times lately where I've been doing something and like, wait a minute. And I just take a moment and I breathe. I'm like, that's not me. What is that? And I'll immediately get, it's this, it's that. And it comes so quickly. So it's not like I have to go, oh, I got to meditate on the mountain for 10 hours and find out what the hell that's about. No, it happens instantly. So that discernment for myself is a real key. And listening, watching, and feeling all these things that are going on around the world, because we're all interconnected as a web of energy.
A couple of things that keep me relaxed is the idea that a lot of what's happening are symptoms of the success that we're actually having overall spiritually. And as people are moving up, it's like the confusion is just throwing tantrums and doing everything it can to influence people to get us scared again or feel confused. And they're confused about their direction. For me, one of the lessons of the week, my solution of the week, we probably should add that little.
Tom's solution of the week.
And the solution of the week.
Is not overthinking. And a couple of nice opportunities have opened. The door has opened, or there's a crack in for my direction, and have come to light today. I would say over the last week. And I noticed that in the past, I would almost start trying to make a decision about a couple of opportunities before I had the facts. And now I was saying to Teresa, I don't even know what the facts are. So how can I make a decision?
Right.
Because I've got a good feeling about it. I've got a good feeling about the both ways I could go, in terms of direction. I'm happy about it. But honestly, until I know more and I get a sense of the environment and what's happening, I'm not going to overthink. And I tie that into what you guys were sharing, in that, if I just focus on, now, what do I got to do today? Today I had to go to the dentist and get a new bridge, and because I got to get that done, and I'm going to do this next. And, so that the goals that we want to achieve, or I want to achieve, will end up fulfilled, instead of me getting stuck and trying to decide something before it's time.
Yeah.
So be in the present, I guess, is really the
be in the
solution.
present. There you go, Tom. Be in the present.
Be in my present.
Be in your present, not in Tiger's or my present. Be in your own present. Well, so that's a good place to end. And I think that as this time frame that we're in, and how it's seems to be a time where a lot of people are celebrating, some people are not celebrating. Finding out how to come into more expansion in themselves spiritually. And some of the keys for that was to relax and to also release things that maybe are a burden and not really working for you anymore. So in the sense of all that and what we've shared today, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and we are very thankful for you. It's like I said, it's almost been a year. We're coming up about 2.5 weeks to our year anniversary, and we appreciate you being on this journey with us, and hope that wherever you're at in the world, you enjoy gaining some spiritual perspectives and discerning the crazy news that's going on. We'll be back soon. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.